Welcome to another episode of Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror in media. But today, we're doing something a little bit different because it's my fucking birthday!
Happy birthday.
Woo!
We already celebrate it,
Yeah, we already celebrated the birthday, but one of the cool things is we let people on their birthdays decide what the episode's going to be about.
Special edition.
Yeah, and
what do we call it? We came up with a name for it,
birthday special edition, the birthday cake.
I don't know.
The special, birthday
anyway,
specials.
we're not doing horror today. Is the point?
There are elements of horror.
Yeah,
heavy elements of horror.
Absolutely.
But so what the episode is actually about today is we're going to be covering the Dark Crystal and the Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance, which came out on Netflix
so
a few months ago.
Film and TV show.
Yeah, and we're all pretty passionate about it.
Oh, yes.
I
don't know if I'm as passioned about it as you guys, but it was enjoyable.
Yeah. Me and Mur though are
you
like
guys went in on it.
we like this. We like took these shows out on dates.
We'll get to it and discuss it. I think the puppet element threw me out too much.
That's okay.
I think that's what happened.
You gotta suspend your disbelief, man.
I can suspend disbelief, but we'll talk about it in a second.
Let's follow the movie first.
Yeah. Let's get into the movie.
Like one of the best things about this movie is it was Jim Henson wanting to do a fantasy.
Yeah.
He wanted to do a fantasy adventure because he'd done the Muppets. He'd done like a whole bunch of other puppeteering sort of acts, and I think he did a little animation also at one point or another.
He's been busy.
Right. So those are the main things he works with, right? So if you don't know who he is, what would you say is like his main piece?
Puppetry.
Of work? Yeah.
Puppetry, like the Muppets, essentially.
The Muppets.
Yeah. So
puppetry. He's also famous for Labyrinth as well.
Yep. Labyrinth is the other
And there
one.
is a third movie that people often forget about. I forget what it's called as well.
Is it Fraggle Rock?
It might be, or something with an M.
Did he do Fraggle Rock? I don't think he did Fraggle Rock.
Don't think
it might not be. It's something with an M.
Dinosaurs was a Henson creation. The TV show 90s sitcom Dinosaurs with the big animatronic suits and stuff.
I did not know that.
I fucking love that show. It's amazing. But anyway, that's
Fever Dream.
I digress. But
yes, you're correct. Fraggle Rock was Jim Henson.
See?
Hell yeah. Nicely done. Yeah. Well done. I did it. That was me. Not you, Mur. It was me.
I remembered that.
I know. I remembered the thing.
That's hilarious.
Uh-huh.
Wait, so before we get into it, how did you guys get introduced to the Dark Crystal? Did you just find it? Did someone tell you about it?
My grandparents bought this movie for me when I was super
they
young.
bought it for
I had
you.
a VHS tape when I was like 9 or 10 years old.
Of the Dark Crystal.
Of the Dark Crystal, and I watched it multiple times.
Hell yeah. Okay, so, that makes sense then.
Yeah,
it's like a childhood movie.
This
like
fucking
you watched
movie.
it a lot.
A very nostalgic trip.
The Skeksis scared the shit out of me, but I kept going back. Like, oh my god. We'll get into all those parts that freaked me out.
For me, it was very different. There was I like to go camping with my family.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old. We go to my dad's older friend's house, and it's on the TV, and they're packing up for camping. Like, you can just chill here. We're going to pack up. And I'm like, okay, and I'm watching this, and I see the Emperor die. That is my first scene.
The Emperor dying is so fucked up.
The Dark Crystal. And I was like, this is fucking scary.
Yeah.
And then we go camping, right? I guess there was a marathon. They left the TV on. There's a marathon of Dark Crystal the whole weekend. We come back. We're unpacking. It's the scene with the podling getting his life force sucked out.
Oh, geez.
So my introduction to this movie were the two most horrifying scenes.
Yeah, they get real serious on some of these.
I mean,
fucked me up.
I mean, the Emperor waking up when Chamberlain tries to grab the scepter from him.
I love that bit.
And he just like,
yeah, he's like,
I am still Emperor. It's so cool. And then he dies.
This is the most dramatic death.
Really though, he crumbles into ash.
Yeah,
oof.
it really just fades away.
Which there are some things in Age of Resistance that kind of harken back to that type of idea, which we'll get to in a bit, but definitely. So yeah, what other questions you got for us, John, about Dark Crystal?
Well, I'm trying to think. I originally watched The Dark Crystal, I think because of a TV special as well. And so I watched it when I was younger. Only watched it like once or twice. So watching it again recently, this is like the third time I've seen that movie. And I didn't remember anything about it. I couldn't get over the Chamberlain just doing his little... Like the whole time. Me and Justine watched it, so we were laughing like every time that would happen. But like... He's clever. Like, he's one of those characters that gets things going, like, in their little council and gets things, like, really set up for him to kind of try to take over. But it's like, the puppets were throwing me the fuck out of the movie. I was watching it, and I enjoyed the story, and it seemed like a short story kind of condensed version of what he probably wanted to do with the budget. So, to me, it was not enjoyable enough for me where I was like, oh, this is going to be super memorable. But then I watched the TV show and I was like, this is a heavy ass upgrade that they did for everything, like everything. Even getting more money to pay for like nicer puppets and things like that. But they still
I'll get into how they make that.
Right. They still have hilarious moments though, like when you get to see their feet. And it's just like two little feet, like piddle paddling on the floor while they run away. That shit just threw me out. Like you had this serious moment, someone's just been murdered, and then you cut to that. Like I couldn't tell if it was intentional, but it was still like it was too much. It was throwing me out of the serious storyline.
They really wanted to capture the spirit of the original movie with the TV show because that's what they wanted to make it so that you could watch one and then go view the other.
Yeah, I mean, freaking Netflix did that with us. We watched the movie, and it was like, oh, go watch Age of Resistance, and it played it as soon as it fucking ended.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, so like it hooked it up like that, and then I just started watching it, and I watched a little over half of it. Of Age of Resistance, and I've enjoyed it, so I want to complete it. But I kind of knew like where things were gonna go, so it's interesting to see how they all kind of tie together.
There's some characters you need to meet that are like the Golem.
Right.
Like, oh man, we'll get into that. We'll get into that. I want to hear Murd talk about some of the puppetry, though. I definitely want to hear Murd get into the puppetry of the first movie.
What do you know about the puppetry from the first movie?
Another time, another world, in the Age of Wonder.
I feel like you just read me the intro to like when you walk into Disneyland. You know what I'm talking about? The little plaque that's above the walkway.
So all the puppets, they're all from Brian Froud, who is the big collaborator for art style for the Dark Crystal. Okay. He is the guy that made the art in a book, and then Jim Henson was like, hey, I am trying to make a fantasy world. I like your style. Let's collab, man. Let's do something.
When they showed the long shots of the castle, that was a painting, right?
No, that is an actual castle.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's an actual like 30, not 30 foot, but it's like a good fucking, I'd say about 10 feet.
So it's like a miniature?
It's okay, it's crazy. That intro castle scene, it's like a 10-foot castle, but they fucking put it all the way behind it, and they add all kinds of scenery to it. And they like shoot it from far away. Basically what they did with like Godzilla when they make miniatures.
Gotcha.
And they just back up or get the right perspective.
It did hold up well for having been a long time since the movie came out because all the puppets are real. Yeah. So it's like you didn't really have like a CGI that didn't age well. You just had the little weird puppets that now look a little bit distorted because the movie's kind of oldish. Mm-hmm. But it still looks really good. And I think maybe if I had known there would be some sort of humor for it, I'd may have like approached the movie a little differently.
Yeah, I feel like it's not a movie you're supposed to take 100% seriously, but it's fantasy.
The thing is that like I know it's high fantasy and I know that there are some elements of humor, but it would do that humor right next to like serious shit, like people getting their life force sucked out of them. So I was like, this is really serious, and then it would do something funny like a little bit after that. So I think the two was not combining well for me in particular. Not that I hate the story. The story's really good.
It could vary. It goes from scene to scene.
Well, it's like even in like the show when like the girl straight up gets murdered, I'm like, whoa, what the, like this was super chill up until this point, and then
with Mira.
Yeah.
Oh, when she gets her essence sucked out. He
stabs these two things in her back, and then they suck all the life force out of her, and then you get to watch that like 3 times over, and you're like, whoa, this is like she just got murdered.
Even more if you count dream fasting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of wild. But they get into some serious themes for the TV show.
For the original, I'll go through like a little bit of the puppetry kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they're all from the concept of Brian Froud. He would put it to pencil, and then they would take it to a person who would make a mold of said pencil thing.
Yeah.
And this is the crazy part. So the designers of the creatures were also the puppeteers.
Oh,
so
wow.
they would have each creature in a different department. The Gelfling department, the Gartham department, you know, for every creature basically. This is the crazy thing. So they said that the designer would make a mold from the painting, then they'd put it into a cast or something that they could replicate kind of.
Yeah.
And they'd keep doing that until they get the right ones, paint it, detail it. Detailing was the hardest part. And then they would have to fit it, and then the actual puppeteer would design their costumes from Brian Froud's concepts.
Holy shit.
So like
That's a lot of work.
He's like the point of this is the puppeteer feels like they contributed a lot, and it feels good when they finally get it done and on screen.
Yeah. So they're not just like a small piece and they're gonna go uncredited. It's like he for sure wanted them to put all of the work into it. So that makes sense actually.
And he did phenomenal work. Fun fact, my favorite part of the puppeteer, like, there's two things about the puppeteers that I really like. One is with the Skeksis, another is with the Gartham. The Gartham are great. Let's be real.
Yeah, the Gartham are sick as fuck.
Like, I just saw the movie recently with a bunch of friends, and I don't know what, but someone was fucking scared of the Gartham. Like, someone was like, "Oh, get that off screen!" Like, fuck.
That thing is like, ding, how their heads like twitch back and forth whenever they walk, and they're almost like lifeless, sort of.
You ever play Fallout?
Yeah.
Like the Mirelurks.
Mirelurks.
Yeah.
Direct inspiration from that.
Yeah, totally.
So I guess the harnesses for it, like the actual shell, weighed like 75 pounds.
I would guess they were pretty heavy.
And they would have to like, okay, the scene's over. Hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And they'd have to like put it on a hanger and be like, okay, you could rest now. And they'd be like, get the shot going again. Get the shot going. Okay, here, put it back on. And it was just like that back and forth. And like their moves are all, you know, they're synchronized so they could do the battle scene with the Landstriders.
Mm-hmm.
They're all super technical, and just like the people had to do a lot of fucking physical work for that.
The Landstriders cracked me the fuck up.
Mm-hmm. I think they're just guys on stilts.
Yeah, guys on stilts.
Yeah.
They would have to have a bed with a tractor, not a tractor, but a trailer on the side, because if those fucking dudes are falling, they're gonna break their neck, dude.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So that was interesting. The other interesting thing was the Skeksis themselves. You have the head being controlled by a hand.
Yeah, I guess as much.
Yeah, and then you have a person in the stomach of the Skeksis with a monitor.
Oh, wow.
They put a monitor in there with direct feed for the director. So you could the puppeteer can't see shit, but she could see what the director's seeing, and she's making it work. And there's two other people, one controlling eyes with radio, another one controlling the arm and leg movements.
I didn't realize they were that elaborate.
So there are about 4 or 5 people per puppet.
Yeah. Whoa, shit. That changes a whole lot about it.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fucking work for just one scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
They
big
went
big
hard.
are the Skeksis like in real life? Like, are they big ass like
They
puppets?
have to be at least 6 or 7.
Yeah,
Yeah,
6 or
I
7
would
feet
guess,
tall
yeah,
at least.
because they look huge in
Yeah,
comparison
they're
to
very.
the Gelflings in comparison. They're usually like really fucking big.
Yeah, the Gelfling are very small, bigger than the Podlings. The Podlings are really tiny. I think the Podlings were more traditional puppet work.
They are. And you
Yeah.
know what's crazy? Jim Henson, he did puppeteering for Jen.
Mm-hmm.
He did puppeteering for, I believe, he did puppeteering for like 3 podlings. They're like, he's like, you know what? I like my traditional puppet. Let me be a podling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of the podling slaves.
Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha.
in the original. But another thing that people
So it was just him behind something with his hand.
Yeah,
in
just
there,
doing-
and
just
the
doing-
little stick for the hand.
Yep,
Is really
yep.
what he was doing. Okay, yeah.
Another thing that people always forget is that Frank Oz is the co-director of this movie.
Oh shit.
And if you don't know Frank Oz, he is Yoda.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know
Oh,
that.
shit.
Holy
And
shit.
people gloss over this all the time. They're like, Jim Henson. Frank Oz was
Fuck.
the other guy. They're like,
Good
usually
call.
when you go to a job site, you have one manager. He directs. But here we're going to 2, and it's like, oh, fuck. But he did Agra. and he voiced Agra as well.
Shit.
I don't think
Frank
he voiced
Oz
her.
did Agra.
He did Agra.
And he
in the
voiced
original.
Agra. I don't know if he voiced her. Did he?
He like gave like, hey, you're gonna voice Agra. This is how I picture Agra to be.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
And and if you know Agra, she is the spiritual guide. She is like Master Yoda, basically.
She's so fucking funny.
Oh, I love
she's
her.
great. She's one of the best parts of the series.
Oh yeah, definitely.
She's just like really fucking old, like really,
Yeah.
really old, and is like missing an eye and can remove her other eye, like
Yeah.
just start moving it around.
She does some cool shit with that in Age of Resistance.
Yeah.
Like later on when you meet the Ascendancy,
Oh, jeez.
but which is that's so fucking cool. You missed like like the last half of that season is like all the really cool
All
shit
the
starts
hype.
coming out, all the hype. That's really it spends time building it up and then gets to the hype. But we're kind of focused on the movie. So
Well, let's get into some of the narrative for the movie. So,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
the Emperor of the Skeksis dies, and so
Yes.
then there's like a power struggle, right? They
Yes.
all sort of want to be the one to lead now.
Yep.
From the Skeksis, and the Skeksis came to power because Magra entrusted them with taking care of the crystal.
according to Age of Resistance, it doesn't explain this very well.
Not in the movie.
In the movie, it doesn't explain how they're in power. They just are in charge of the crystal, and because Agra gave it to them so that she could, they lied to her.
Yeah.
Basically said, "We'll take care of it. It'll be fine." And they built her the constellations, like I'm not sure. I'm sure like not observatory,
It's
but
kind of like an
it's,
observatory.
it's like an observatory sort of thing.
They have a name for it. I don't.
Yeah, I
remember.
can't remember the name of it right now.
I'm guessing with her magical power, she was able to like kind of go into some sort of
A
coma
trance.
stasis.
Yeah,
where she
and just
could and then go
observe the
explore
stars.
space. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was kind of her deal. So she like entrusted them with taking over her own job so that she could explore space.
Well, so they immediately go into this thing where the Chamberlain tries to take it, and then who is it that ends up taking it?
The general.
Yeah, the general, the Gartham,
Essentially,
the Gartham
one of the,
master.
like
That's
the
his
best
name.
fighter, and honestly, amongst
He's
the
he's
Skeksis.
basically the most brutal of them,
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, I like
Hands
the,
off my scepter, Chamberlain.
Yeah.
I like the little duel that ensues.
Yeah.
For what they're
Trial
doing.
by stone.
There's so many memorable lines.
They
from the
Yeah.
original.
bring up this huge stone, which obviously looks like they've just been slashing at it for this like competition.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chamberlain is like, "Yeah, I got it. Check this out." Does like a nice little slash, and people are like, "Ooh, yeah, impressed." General steps up and cuts that thing right in half, and they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, fuck yeah, this guy's the one who's gonna take over."
And then like the most brutal like stripping ever. That's honestly
Right.
just freaks me the fuck out every time they do it because like his like cries and everything while they're ripping all his
Well,
clothes
I thought
off.
they were. The first time I watched it, I thought they were gonna eat him or something. Like I
Ooh.
thought
Yeah.
he for sure was gonna get like
Yeah.
cannibalized in that moment, but they just removed him of all his clothing.
That's the weird thing about the Skeksis is that as villains, they're very sophisticated
Yes.
and
Yeah, it's
also
weird.
really brutal.
Yeah.
So it's like a brutality and sophistication combo that they have going on.
Yeah.
Lifting their pinky to drink tea,
Yeah.
but the
yeah.
tea is blood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like that. And so they banish him instead of murdering him or something like that.
Their outfits are hilarious to me. They're like a combination of all the weird shit they've collected,
Mhm.
and they just put it all on themselves to like adorn their bodies with these things.
I've always thought they reminded me of like colonial nobles.
Yeah,
like
that's
ridiculous
fair.
like Victorian era nobles. I think is
Yeah.
more accurate to put it that way.
Well, you even have some of that when they go and to visit the Gelflings in the show, and they have to give them like tithings and
Yep.
like give them gifts and shit because they want to just collect so much of the wealth from the Gelflings. But it's like you don't get too much of that in the movie. You get more
No.
of like the like main storyline. You don't go
All
too
the
far off of
Gelflings
it.
are dead.
It is,
Yeah,
it
and they're all fucking dead. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
is,
They-
it's a very condensed story.
Very
yeah,
condensed
really
story.
condensed in the first movie.
They don't
for
even
sure.
mention that the world is called Thra.
They don't.
in
Yeah,
the
they don't
original.
even mention that. Yeah, they don't even
Yeah,
mention
yeah.
the name of the world either.
yeah. That you just kind of get like this smaller story.
The
that's
world was
happening.
once wonderful, and then the crystal cracked,
Yeah.
and that's
And
kind of
it's-
how the
yeah.
movie goes. Yeah.
So at that point, it cuts away from whoever has gained control, and then what you go into the introduction for the main character, right?
Yeah, for Jen, and he's
Yeah.
with the Mystics, and the big part here in the narrative is that when the Emperor dies, so does the leader of the Mystics.
Yes.
They die at the same time.
Yeah. So he like fades away,
yeah,
right?
he fades away. He fades away very Jedi-like.
Yeah.
And whatnot, and then like so the
Frank
Skeksis
Oz people.
Yeah, Frank Oz.
Yeah.
There you
Exactly.
go.
That's
Yeah.
why I was like, oh, they
Straight
totally
up.
did it on purpose.
Well, Empire Strikes Back came out 1 year after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell
Very
yeah.
cool.
Oh shit, that's a
so
crazy parallel.
they already show the dichotomy between the two races.
Right. So I guess if you were like paying super close attention, you'd be like, they have to be related in some way.
Well, even narratively, like the narrator says, like, you know, meanwhile during the Skeksis, an emperor lies dying,
Right.
and then they go like,
There
and
are 10 left.
Yeah, there are 10 left, and then in the valley in the tribe of mystics, here a mystic lies dying, or here Jen's master lies dying. They do like a repetition that way. Yeah, exactly, and there are exactly 10.
So they set up this idea of the dichotomy, like you said, but also that sort of balance that they have between really good characters and really bad characters.
The two.
Although I have to say, for the
become
movie,
one.
they didn't really get too much into the mystics.
No, the mystics are basically just traveling there to confront
That's
the Skeksis.
hilarious. They're traveling the whole movie, and they get
Yep.
there right on time at the
Yep.
end, which is so funny to
they're
me.
They're there
mystics.
when they're needed.
Yeah, they're right.
Yeah.
They're right where they need to be when it's time. And that's kinda,
There's like what a night or two that it takes them. Like
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah,
like,
it takes them a
legit.
good while.
Yeah, while Jen's trying to return, like he has to go visit Ogra because that is what his master tells him before he dies.
Well, it looks like at that point, she's already awake, right?
Yeah.
Ogra's already awake. Yeah,
Yeah.
because Age of Resistance happens
That's
way
right, that's
before.
right.
Because when Dark Crystal the movie happens, the Gelflings have already been genocided.
Oh, jeez.
Like
Because
yeah.
that's because they've been just eating their life force, right?
Yep, the
Okay.
Skeksis literally like round up. It's like they do like 50 Gelfling every trine, which is like 50 a year.
Ooh.
Every year they just murder 50 people. That's my understanding of it, kind
Well,
of.
from what I was guessing or understood from the TV show was that when Magra is talking to like sort of herself in the crystal, she mentions how the Gelflings usually would like go back to Thra and then kind of get reborn. But if they eat their essence like this, they can't do that anymore. So there's no replenishment of the Gelflings how
they're not
normally
reborn again, or they
Yeah.
do not return to Thra
So
like
it was
they're
like
supposed
they
to.
interrupted this sort of like it basically gets at the idea that what they're doing is really unnatural for them to just start eating life essence like that. And so that's like definitely something they set up there. But for the story for the movie, it's not too fleshed out. You kind of just get this like, oh, they have this device, they have this crystal that takes all the life force out. And you get the idea of how like that works.
Yeah,
like,
they use it to drain essence from. They use podlings.
Yeah.
They're not using Gelflings,
No.
and they say Skektek. That's the name of the character.
I love all the names, by the
Yeah.
way, for the Skeksis. They're
yeah,
hilarious.
Yeah, Skek-ung and Skek. Yeah,
They all start with the
Skeksil.
Skek,
Yeah,
so it's like
Skeksil.
it's really funny to me.
but Skektek, who's he's voiced by Mark Hamill in Age of Resistance.
Yeah,
And
fucking
you always
shit.
want him to complain about Batman, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, oh shit, this is like every time I heard it, I was like, it sounds like the Joker.
Yeah.
You should at the end of the fucking series.
Yes. Yeah.
I introduce you Gotham, and then it's like, can you just say Gotham?
They Gotham.
Gotham.
I love that.
I combined Gotham and I think it's like they're like Garnux.
Grunek and
Grunek and Aratham. Yeah, I've combined Grunek and Aratham. I call it Gotham. And that's like the new shock trooper that he makes so that they can fight the Gelflings.
Gotcha. Okay.
Get there, John. It's fucking
Right,
epic.
yeah.
Anyway.
What are you saying about Skektek though?
But Skektek does say in the very beginning, like when he drains a podling, because that's what they're doing, they're draining podlings. He says he gives it to, because the new emperor's decided. They decide who the new emperor is. Skek-ung, I believe is his name. Skek-ung becomes the new emperor.
Yeah.
He wins the sword fight, banishes Chamberlain, et cetera, and he goes down there to collect the essence that's been drained from the podling.
Yeah.
And he consumes it, and you can see he looks in the
His
mirror and
face gets better.
his skin gets better, and then it instantly turns back.
Yeah. That's
And
not
then
as strong.
And then he gets pissed off at Skektek, hits him a bunch of times, like, what the fuck, you're a useless scientist to me. And then he's just like, better when we used Gelflings.
Yeah.
And the thing is about that, they explain in Age of, we're going to be saying this so much.
Yeah.
Explain in Age of Resistance, but Gelflings are most connected to Thra.
Yeah, so they get the most life essence out of them.
And Podlings are most connected to potatoes. Because they are based off of potatoes.
That's so funny
They're
to me.
potato people.
They're great. Yeah, I love that they were able to do different types of puppetry with the characters in it. So you definitely have the traditional with the podlings, and then you can tell because they sort of like bounce around when they walk, which is like somebody who's like underneath with the puppet moving their hand, and it just looks so funny to me.
Oh yeah.
It reminds me of watching like shit on TV. You know, like when you watch Sesame Street and things like that, where like they would move like that.
Yep. Yeah. Well, when Jim Henson, he was talking about, you know, I have to be Jen. He's like, I can't make this guy bounce because the minute I make him bounce, the minute everyone's just gonna be like, oh fuck this. So he's like, I put him right above my head, and he is doing the strides that I'm doing with my feet.
Yeah, that makes sense. He looked like he was moving differently, so that's fair.
But podlings, he's like, podlings are podlings.
Yeah, they're gonna do.
They're supposed to be funny, bouncy, like silly people. That's like kind of the lighthearted part of the universe.
Oh, totally.
But before we get to the podlings, Jen finds Agra.
Yeah, Jen finds Agra. Agra is already awake.
Well, he gets sent off by
his master,
by the Mystics,
to find the crystal shard.
Yeah.
To fix the crystal because
they're really vague about it, though. I got to be honest.
Yeah, they really are. They really are. But I mean, they're mystical.
He figures it out, but it's still like, oh man, you have like such little info to
You'll
go.
You'll have to figure out like what's going on. And then in Age of Resistance, they explained the like the Song of Thra. So
music
what I
is
think
used really well.
It is. It's used as like a part of the world.
Yeah,
it's
crazy high fantasy. I love it.
Yeah. And when he plays the song on his flute, the crystal that's correct, the correct shard is the one that glows. Yeah, exactly.
I did enjoy it for the Mystics that they would sort of like do this Gregorian chant with each other, like all together. And it was always really deep. So it was interesting because to me it seemed like they were suggesting that if they were able to sort of produce this sound, they were like harmonizing, and so that's like their appeal, that they were kind of balanced in that way.
Yeah.
And using music was a cool way to do it. They used it a lot more in the show, where they have like a song that like activates something, or they have like this little lore behind it for why they would sing something like that.
Interesting bit. Did you notice there's a part where the Emperor demands that his podling slaves play music for him, and it's this really discordant, like terrible nonsense that they're playing. It's really bad, but he loves it.
Yeah.
Faster.
And then but all of the Gelflings and podlings play super dope, awesome, like you know, like Celtic kind of music. Kind of reminds me of that, sort of like that. And I love that aspect. And they all actually have like vocalized songs, sometimes in their own languages and stuff. So podling language is a thing. There's an actual language in Age of Resistance.
Yes, and Hup.
Yeah.
The podling that is voiced by the Italian.
I was like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, he sounds like he's Italian.
He's adorable. Mitch loves Hup.
Hup is my man. That's my jam.
He's a little podling who wants to be a paladin. It's such a good story.
Awesome.
And he has a spoon as his sword.
Like, my favorite part is he's like, oh, hello, Hup paladin. Podlings could be paladins? Not yet, but soon.
Yeah. He's like, nah, but I got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, he is voiced by an Italian, of course, but the guy also puppeteers him. So he does both.
Okay.
However, he learned the Podlin language from the guy who created it.
Holy shit.
And eventually, he's speaking in Podling, and then he's writing his emails to the guy in Podling, and the dude's just like, dude, I don't know what the fuck you're saying. I made the language, but come on, dude, just speak in English.
He's practicing, like, yo, you got it. He's like, oh, come on, man, don't do this to me. I like that they like snuck in people with like different accents into the show. Mm-hmm. Like, I think there's a dude who has like a Scottish accent at some point. It's the elder who gets his mind erased by Brea.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's definitely Scottish. I was like, yo, and they just keep doing that.
I love that whole scene though, because he's about to like fucking erase her mind. She just switches cups on him.
It was very Princess Bride.
Yeah, I loved it.
Where they like switch the poison,
and then everyone's mad at her. Like, why would you do this to our emperor? He's a moron now.
Yeah, that's so great.
He was gonna do it to me.
He loses all of his memory. Yeah, that was cool. But so he finds Magra, and then what does he do after that? What happens?
We have to discuss like all the fucking exposition that she spills out.
Right. Yeah.
She's just like, you have no time, but you must know, but you have no time.
Yeah. And she
like,
just tells him
the story is deeper than you could fathom. It's like, oh shit.
So you're like, oh shit, oh damn, and then but she basically just, I love how she dumps all the crystals. He's like, so which one is it? Don't know. And just don't know. Like, does the squat and everything. And
oh right,
my god,
yeah.
dude, it's so. I love her character. Is just so great.
She's
so
such
great.
an interesting look too because she has the horns. She has like a mustache basically.
She has like a pinky that's also a horn.
Yeah. Well, she mentions what she has like 8.5 fingers or something like that.
Her intro to her waking up in Age of Resistance is coughing up like a mountain of dust.
Yeah.
I love her intro in Age of Resistance too. 'Cause she's like, oh, like she has a podling helper.
Yeah.
You're old.
And
The
he's like,
last time I saw you, you're young. He's like, no. That was your grandfather.
yeah, he's just been hanging around the whole time, just cleaning up.
Generation after generation collecting
Man,
dust.
at least they're committed. Like they're definitely honorable little helpers to have with people. They stuck to it.
Yeah, if you're helping Aughra, who's like the mother of like Thraw, basically, sort of like viewed that way. She's kind of like she's almost like Gandalf's situation, kind of.
That's
she's
fair.
kind of like in Gandalf's shoes.
Well, yeah,
in a way.
she's powerful. She's got like some magic, but
Oh man, you gotta finish Age of Resistance, bro. It's so crazy. Anyway,
I'm mad that I didn't get through all of it.
You will.
Yeah, I'll finish it
and
over
then
the weekend.
And then you'll freak out, and freak out as much as I freaked out.
Well, so you get her telling you all the exposition, and then it gets sort of right to the story. They don't really. It's like an 1.5-hour movie, right?
The Gartham attack her home.
They come in and just break fucking everything
because
it's scary.
Yeah, just breaking through. Ring, ring.
I gotta say that was impressive for when they did the scene. I think it was in a cave when they kind of break in there and are chasing after him. And there's just so much going on in one scene. I was like, this must have been really fucking hard to film because they're all in these giant suits. They have to coordinate where they're going. They probably bumped into each other and just had to go with it.
Yeah, they burn Aughra's home down and break her essentially break her constellation thing, and then capture her.
And then the Chamberlain is out there, right?
Like he's
out
been
and about.
He's been banished, so he gets like whatever clothes he can muster up, and then goes and finds. Yeah, and he keeps doing that the whole time. He's just like,
which makes him a fan favorite.
Really, though,
it's so fucking funny.
Laugh every time.
But you laugh every time. But it makes him an interesting character. He feels like almost a real person.
Well, it disarms you. Like it makes you think that he's kind of like harmless, but he's really cunning when it comes to like getting people against each other.
Skeksis, if anything.
Yeah, he starts figuring out ways to like pit people against each other, and so it's interesting to have a character like that who's already been banished. So he's not strong enough to like fight another Skeksis, but he's clever enough to start coming up with these alternate plans.
I don't
things.
need to fight. I could have someone else do it for me.
Right, exactly. He's that kind of person.
They go deeper in it in Age of Resistance.
I
too.
guessed as much, and I feel like he's equivalent to like your Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, where he starts pitting people against each other. Just not so well spoken.
Yeah, exactly.
Also voiced by Simon Pegg.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
How did I not notice that
in the new series?
In the new series, yeah.
We got to go through a list of all the people in that show because there's got to be
a fucking A-list.
Yeah,
Andy Samberg plays the heretic.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Which is.
Did you see the Skeksis with like the big boils on her nose?
Yes,
that's Aquafina.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Who does fucking what's Bonet Carter? She's the guy that plays Lestrange in Harry Potter.
Helena Bonham Carter.
Oh, Bonham Carter. Yeah, she's in this one. I don't remember. I'm trying to remember who the. Oh, Mer's got it.
Oh wait, give me like 2 seconds. What was her name?
Helena
Bonham Carter.
Oh, shit, there's a lot of people on this cast.
AKA what? Yeah. Tim Burton's wife.
Yeah, exactly. Tim Burton's wife does a character as well.
I love the interview. I think it's with Johnny Depp where he's like, "I just wish he would stop having me kill his wife."
Oh yes. Helena Bonham Carter is the All-Madra.
Yep. She's Brea's mom. Yeah.
Yep.
Brea and Celadon's mom.
You know what? We might as well just get it all out.
Right. Here. Yeah. Go through the list if you got it.
Taron Egerton, the guy who was in Kingsman.
Yes.
Alexis, I believe. He is Rianne.
Okay.
Yeah,
for sure. That's
Nathalie Emmanuel is Deet.
Okay.
Mark Hamill, Skektek, obviously. Yeah. Simon Pegg, Skeksil. Anna Taylor-Joy is Brea.
What else was she in?
I don't remember.
That's cool. Just kidding.
Natalie Dormer is Annika.
I did not know that.
Jason Isaacs is the Emperor.
That sounded familiar, so that makes sense.
I think someone from Game of Thrones was...
Yeah, the woman that plays Marjorie, the actress that plays Marjorie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who she played. I think she's not Brea, is she? No, she's like.
What is her name? Like her actual name. Oh wow. Okay. So Michael Key.
Yeah.
He's the Skexel with the giant fucking moon on his head.
Yeah.
That for sure.
Damn, they really did get some like top-notch people for this.
Is it Lena Headey?
I think so.
She's Madra Farah. Okay, but Mark Strong, who is also in Kingsman, is Ordon.
Natalie Dormer. That's Marjorie.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
You already said it.
So, what is it? Mark Strong. He's Ordon, which is Rianne's dad.
Yeah.
And I am going to spoil this for you, John.
Oh, you can go.
Rianne's dad does die.
Yeah, I figured.
And it's funny because they're very similar fucking they're very similar to like how he dies in Kingsman. Just like they're in a forest and Alexei or Rianne sees him die in front of him.
Keegan-Michael Key is Skexok.
Yeah,
who's he's like the one with like the extra teeth in his mouth. He's the one that already looks kind of like royally. Wears like a lot of red and gold.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
And Sigourney Weaver is the narrator.
Yes, I saw Sigourney Weaver's name in the credits when I was watching it. I was like, holy shit, that's fucking Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah. Benedict Wong from Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Emperor, no, he's the general.
It makes sense for all the people they chose because they have distinct voices, and they must have like been like, okay, we got this character's like bring life to this character, and then they are able to do it.
Oh man, it's even more harder than that. What was it? The guy who plays Rianne.
Yeah.
He was like, I accepted the job. I didn't even open the email. I was just like, yes.
Of course I will.
Yeah. Of course. But they would have, the thing is like with most traditional puppetry, they do the movements and they have to match the voice.
Yeah.
And for fucking having like 4 or 5 people and eyes to go with and CGI, it was a hard thing for a lot of the like voice actors.
So do you know how they sort of did it? Like, did they have the puppets on stage and they would voice
They're in a booth and they're just trying to freaking fill it out, just get it.
After watching because you can watch if you go on Netflix, you can watch the making of Dark Crystal and the making of Age of Resistance too. So they have like good hour long movies about them. But from what I understand is I believe the puppets do some of the voice work as well for them so that the voice actors can come in and know like how is the puppet speaking and then can sync up with it. So they just do like voice like sound editing. That's what my understanding is, but it could also just be mouth movements along with the script, but I would imagine the puppeteer saying something.
Yeah.
Cuz the puppeteer is not that hard to talk while you're doing puppet stuff.
Okay. That sounds cool. That also sounds really difficult. But you know what? I never had a problem with that. Watching either one, I was never like, oh, this is like out of sync.
Yeah, exactly. No, they all sound great.
I was totally cool with the way their mouths were moving for whatever they were saying.
And the thing is, because of the way they did that, they originally wanted to do puppet Skeksis and CGI Gelfling, and they had mock-ups of it.
Right.
They're like, we could do this. But then they're like, the two mediums are completely fucking different. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I'm glad that for the TV show, they didn't do too much CGI.
They do a lot of CGI.
Oh, they're really good at it then.
it's their mouths and eyes and their eyebrows.
Really?
That's how they cut
mixes
costs.
in. That's how they get all the expressions.
I was okay. That answers a lot of questions then, because I was like, these eyes look crazy on some of them. I'm like, this is really cool. I would have guessed they were just really well painted.
Yeah. Well, I think they did it too. They had to cut costs because making a movie like this is not cheap.
Yeah, I would guess.
Because you have to pay all the people. Like, I think the Dark Crystal. Give me a moment. The first Dark Crystal movie.
So this is more money to like pay for all the workers than it is to get
man. So the original movie, 30 sets, 5 years to make.
Shit.
Oh my God, 5 years to make it?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
Age of Resistance, 80 sets, 6 months to make it.
Oh, because they had the people for it.
They had the manpower.
Yeah.
Well, want to hear some budget information?
Yes.
Let's go.
So the budget for the movie, $25 million for Dark Crystal.
Okay.
$25 million. Box office made $41.4 million.
Oh, they made good.
Yeah, they did good. They did good.
I feel
not
like they
not big numbers, but good fucking numbers.
They
That's
did
a
better
good turnover.
in Europe than they did in America, I think.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, I would imagine it was 25. It says or 25
Do you know what got released around the same time that the Dark Crystal came out? What were they going up against?
It's like 83, so fuck.
It was released on December 13th in New York, and then on the full United States, it was in 82. It was on December 17th, so 4 days later. It got released in New York first, New York City.
I feel like there's probably some big movies that came out around that time, so they were competing pretty heavy with something else.
Let me look.
Yeah. I would guess that's probably why. Also, just people trying to get over the fact that they're puppets.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think that, but I mean, the movie didn't do badly. That's the thing. It did well, like money-wise.
Yeah.
Well, I looked up what movies were out the same week.
Yeah.
We got The King of Comedy, Tootsie, The Year of Living Dangerously, Fanny and Alexander, Best Friends, Ginger Megs, Honky Tonk Man, The Blade Master, and The Gray Fox. I don't recognize any of these.
Yeah. But I remember The Dark Crystal.
I remember The Dark Crystal, though.
That's fair.
Yeah. So it did not have much competition.
Yeah, now it was doing good.
Yeah.
So let's see. Getting back to
the narrative,
the way the story was going.
Yeah.
So he figures out kind of what he needs to do,
Yep.
and then he has to then make his journey to the castle where the crystal is, right?
Yeah.
And but he meets someone along the way.
He meets Kira.
Yeah, he meets Kira,
who
they both believe they were like the last Gelfling. And then they were kind of like, oh my God, like there's another Gelfling here.
And then they dream fast, which Jen doesn't know about. Doesn't know that Gelflings can even do that.
Yeah. And so they do that. And this is kind of a cool concept. They can like sort of share memories with each other.
Yep. And they're dreamlike.
And it's interesting as a narrative device in the show because it's kind of like your proof. Where it's like, oh, you witnessed something, then you can show someone else.
Dream fast with
that,
me and prove it.
Yeah, and this is like you're not lying about the situation. So that's like it's why Rian is trying to do it with other people, but then the Skeksis convince them that that's how they spread like his illness. So nobody wants to dream fast with him, and
There's
can't
a plague
prove it.
if he touches you and dream fast.
Madness.
Yeah, it's like some sort of madness that'll take over you. Yeah. So it's interesting that they did something like that.
God
but
damn
they,
it, Lord Chamberlain.
you know, they meet each other, and then they're like, oh, we gotta like fix this, and that's sort of how they come together and get moved forward in that sort of narrative. And then they like make their journey over, right?
They do, but she has nature powers. We have to talk about that.
Yes.
And she has Fizzgig.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the coolest, which that Fizzgig is like in Age of Resistance, they make Fizzgig just like a species of animal.
Yes.
But whereas the Fizzgig in the show, I just thought was its name.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think Fizzgig just like surprises the shit out of Jen in a hole.
It's like a weird dog.
Yeah, it's a weird little ball dog, like a little poof ball dog.
When it moves around, when it moves, it rolls.
with like 3 sets of teeth.
It can jump fucking high.
Yeah, they also jump high as fuck. That's right. Yeah,
that shit's hilarious.
Yeah.
My favorite part is when they're like getting chased by the Gartham and the Chamberlain, and they're like, "Oh, I called the Landstriders." Like, no, Fizzgig, you stay here.
Yeah, he's like, and he like pounds. He like pounds his feet. He like he's holding a temper tantrum, throwing a temper tantrum.
Yo, someone must have like just thrown it when that scene came out. When they threw it up there, it looks like someone just tossed it. I could not get over the fact that there's scenes like that, even with some of the puppets when they're jumping down. It looked like they just dropped a puppet.
Yeah.
And like full physics where they just drop and hit the ground, and then it cuts to like them landing, and I'm like, this is too funny. But for that one, it looked like they just threw a fur ball on top of it, like somebody just did like a straight football throw. It was so funny. I lost it watching it. I mean, I was a little bit high, but it was still like, this is so funny.
Oh no, watching this with friends, it's a laugh.
It's really funny. Justine and I watched it, and like when Fizzgig first showed up, I was like, is it a cat? Is it a dog? And then we're like, no, it's definitely a dog. Yeah. Once we got to like a certain moment, you're like, okay, yeah, for sure. And then you're right, yeah, they sort of made it like a species. There's like a Fizzgig with an eye patch.
Yeah. It's the Al-Madra of Stone in the Wood.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the Madra of Stone in the Wood has
Al-Madra, control your Fizzgig.
It's just hilarious. It has like just a straight eye patch. He looks like
he's so hardcore.
Yeah, super hardcore Fizzgig. It's really funny. And I enjoyed small detail like that. So it was really funny to see. I think he even jumps onto Rian to try to like stop him from escaping when he's like just going out the top. Very like adventure pirate style where he cuts one of the ropes on the wall and just takes it all the way up with like a chandelier kind of weighing him down. So it's cool shit. That's definitely something that's interesting.
They get chased. Well, I mean, we've got Kira with nature power, so she can call upon animals to do things and stuff like that. She uses it to help Jen escape from stinking mud.
Wait, so I know they didn't really establish like the huge difference between the Gelflings at that point.
Yeah.
So like, is she like Groton?
No, she is the really rich one, I believe.
She's from Harar.
She has to be. She has like the same skin tone as Bran.
Yeah, she does. She also has like the gray hair
Yep.
as well, which I don't think. Which Deet kind of does, but she doesn't have like the greenish kind of skin that the Groton do. The Groton have like a greenish sort of skin.
Jen is definitely Stonewood though.
Oh yeah, definitely stone in the wood.
Well, they established that the female Gelflings have wings.
Yes,
right?
all of them have wings.
So that's interesting. That they just kind of like
their whole society's matriarchal too.
Yes,
entirely.
Awesome.
Yeah, entirely matriarchal.
It matches insects to a degree because
that's true.
Some insects, females have wings, males don't.
Yeah, and usually it's
small,
matriarchal.
Sometimes the females are huge.
It was nice. It was nice that they did that without too much question.
It's
funny too because
no one was really. Yeah, they're like, this is just how it's been.
Yeah. Well, that's what the world would be like if it was like that.
Right.
You wouldn't consider it any other way.
Yeah,
you wouldn't be like, that's weird if it was always been that way.
You're not a girl.
Yeah. You're not yeah, exactly. Like, I don't have wings.
Yeah, I love that he was just like, what the hell? I don't have wings. This is bullshit.
He's like, of course not. You're a boy. He's just like, dumbass. You know? Like,
how do you not know?
Yeah, no, that was funny. But also I liked that they had basically like little fairy wings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they use them a lot, like in both.
Oh, in Age of Resistance, they get down on the wings.
They're
and
like really using them, and it was funny to me to see a puppet flying.
Yeah,
just because of the way they did it, I was like, this is super funny. Yeah, and it's like the legs are kind of just wobbling about, but it worked. I think it worked really well for a lot of the parts. So they discover each other. They dream fast. They kind of share anything, but then it gets interrupted, right?
No, they go to the podlings.
Yeah, they go to the hangout with the podlings.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the Gartham show up again.
Yeah, and fuck up their little house.
Yeah. I did that sound. I was like waiting for him, like, I'm going to do it right when it pops out.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, because it bursts through the wall.
Yeah.
Fucking
the
Kool-Aid man Gartham coming on through.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. Skeksis reign supreme. So
they capture some podlings.
They capture a shitload of podlings. Jen and Kira get away.
Yeah, you know what? I gotta say, I really enjoyed the random like music celebration bit.
Yeah,
it reminded me of like the Ewoks from Star Wars. It reminded me of like Game of Thrones when they're like all celebrating. So like definitely that high fantasy moment of when they get to party for a second.
Yeah, exactly.
That flute solo's fire.
yeah.
Dude, I love that they're dancing too. The little podlings are all doing like their unique dance, and some of them are just like headbanging. They're like,
and then there's like one that's like in the fucking like the beer, the beer keg that's getting pointed around, and he's just like in it and gets up like, yeah.
And they're like all trying to offer him food. How do you say thank you?
Oh, right.
Like,
Valabam.
And they're like, here, Valabam.
Just keep giving.
He's trying
him food.
to be super formal and say thank you for like everything that's given to him. It's really funny. I like that.
I love this movie. Anyway, that's all I gotta say is I love the fuck out of
So the
Dark Crystal.
Gartham are chasing them, and then
Yep.
Lord Chamberlain.
Yeah, Lord Chamberlain. They get head off because I know that's when they get Landstriders. I think is at that point they get Landstriders.
Well, it's clever because they need to speed up them getting to the castle. So they're like, how can we do this? Landstriders, of course.
Literally things that just make them faster.
Yeah. So they dropped it in and have them get to the castle like super quick. And so they end up at the castle.
The Gartham attack the Landstriders and straight up like tear one of them to pieces and throw the other one off a cliff.
Yeah, that was wild.
It's brutal, dude. They get violent as fuck.
I think that's kind of where I was watching it, and I was like, oh, this got real serious all of a sudden. Yeah. It just like falls.
They also
very
went
dramatic.
to the temple too, though.
They went to the old temple and they mentioned the old because Jen throws this shard away. Like, I wish I'd never heard of it because then the podlings wouldn't have been hurt.
Yeah. Aw.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. He has like that moment. Like there's a little bit of character depth there. They just fit a little bit of that in there.
You see the wall with the history of Thra.
Yep.
Yeah, that was cool. I like stuff like that. When you bring in lore in some way like that.
So there was already pre-established lore with this movie.
Yeah, I would guess he did the world building.
With an extinct society, it would be that vague.
Yeah.
If the Skeksis have done everything in their power to keep you from knowing it, then you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
And so it makes a lot of sense why everything is so vague. And even Aughra doesn't have time to explain everything to you. Nope. You have no time. I don't have time to explain shit to you.
Well, you
just got to get Crystal to the place. That's it. Gelfling.
Yeah, well, exactly. They did like
take the ring to the volcano.
They gave you some urgency to like a final destination for it. Yeah, it's very Lord of the Rings. So like, here's the item. Please restore it or destroy it.
Gartham or the ring wraiths.
Yeah,
kind of idea. Yeah, definitely inspired for sure.
Oh dang, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
also the crystal bats that spy on them are just like the birds. The bird. Yeah, it's a big Lord of the Rings love letter.
I think it's it's definitely because high fantasy kind of borrows from each other because there's like things that sort of get played out in one way or another. But it makes sense. Like it was never anything where I was like, oh, what a ripoff. It was just like, no, this is like stuff that happens and it's cool.
So, so the Landstriders get murdered. Kira gets captured.
Yes.
Because they hop down. Then she bursts out wings to save them.
Yeah.
They get to the bottom and they go underneath the castle.
Yeah, into like a sewer kind of
thing.
Yeah,
into like the sewer of the
You know what's funny though is that there was moments where it was just someone in a costume, like climbing up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but only on the sections where you couldn't see the face.
Yeah, exactly.
So like it would
probably a little kid. They were just like crawl up that.
Yeah, and they would
just good job.
Yeah, they would film it, and they did it like 3 times I think, where it was like because you could tell I was like, oh, that's a fucking person.
Yeah,
like it suddenly was different.
But it was good though. It was actually a fairly decent transition.
Yeah, it wasn't
abrupt. It wasn't so abrupt. Yeah, exactly.
It happens when Jen's running to go see his master in the beginning.
Right, and so they get in, and then. Aren't they like about to suck the life force out of?
They're sucking life force out of podlings.
Yeah,
out of podlings.
They're sucking out of podlings.
But then they strap in the girl.
They strap in Kira because they find a Gelfling.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we got to do it.
That's big essence here, man.
Yeah, and then he like shouts that she has like control of the animals and
and she calls upon the animals and they captured Aughra.
Yeah,
so and Aughra's no longer like seen as anything to them. The Skeksis don't give a fuck about Aughra.
Yeah.
They don't. They're just like, we don't. You gave up your power here. Like fuck you. The only people that like Aughra are like the Gelflings in Age of Resistance, but since there are no real followers of her, she doesn't have any followers anymore. Yeah. Nobody, like, she can't do anything about it.
Aughra was canceled, bro.
Dude, yeah, legit.
But not by choice, by genocide.
Yep.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, while we're talking about puppets, it also has genocide.
Yeah, it also has mass genocide in it.
Holy shit.
That said, the Gartham Wars, which will be probably season 2.
Yes.
Where me and him are suspecting Gartham Wars is season 2.
Also, I looked into it, so the graphic novels that I wanted to get, they're before even Age of Resistance.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
So they go even back. Cool. They go to like how Aughra is made and how like before when they meet the Skeksis and they're like, oh, we will give you a constellation room. All that kind of crap.
Oh, cool.
That's fucking cool.
And then she has a kid, but they don't explain it in Age of Resistance for some reason.
Yeah.
But I don't know how canon it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It is made by Brian Froud, though, the fucking concept designer. So I don't know.
So it worked with a different writer, I believe. So maybe the son was like too minor of a character.
That's a funny. He's the main character.
What the fuck? All right. Oh well. Anyway. Oh well. You know.
It's okay. We threw away Legends for Star Wars. We could deal with it.
Oh dang. I did enjoy that they brought back familiar places in the TV show, just like upgrade it. You got to see like the main chamber where they like discuss things. You got to see the room where they like get their life force taken. It's like just the same thing, but like a little more colorful, a little more detailed. And so you had this familiarity of watching what you had seen in the movie and the TV show.
I would say I agree with you on that. But getting back to the narrative, again, they go underneath.
So they kind of like break out, right?
Chamberlain encounters them again.
Yes.
He's following them, trying to get them to work with him and come back willingly. And so he gets down there, tries to take Kira away. Jen stabs him with the crystal, hurts his hand. And he just goes, Gelfling, you die! And then like throws a pillar and like buries Jen underneath a whole bunch of rock, captures Kira, throws him in there with Skektek.
Oh, that's right.
No. He brings him to the Emperor. Yes, I have found a Gelfling. I have found it. Me, Chamberlain.
Me. I have found it. Yeah, exactly. Me. I have done this.
Yes.
And then they allow him back into their group.
Right.
Again, he redeems himself again.
Now the Emperor wants some fresh fucking essence.
Yeah, fresh fucking essence for sure. They tried to drain her. She calls upon all the animals that are in Skektek's like imprisonment, and they all attack him and throw him into fire, and he dies.
Is one of my favorite parts of the movie when he falls down in the pit.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the Mystics on their way to the castle still, and just one of them just
one of them disappears immediately when he dies,
and everyone kind of just looks back, and they're like,
"Oh well,
okay,
keep going. We got a job to do."
There was a moment in the Dark Crystal where Justine was like, "Yo, that dude just got Emperor Palpatine." Just got picked up and thrown into a fucking pit.
Exactly.
That shit was hilarious. We lost it. We were just
like,
so "Yo."
Okay, the best part about that is, if you really think about it, the voice actor is Mark Hamill from that, so it's like Mark Hamill's getting
Star Wars
Emperor,
alternate.
dude.
Yeah, that's really what happened.
I love how the Emperor in the beginning, the Emperor in Age of Resistance says like, "I will not turn to dust."
Yeah,
and then he turns to dust for the movie.
Totally. That's hilarious. I love it. They did.
He throughout the shoe, he's like falling apart too. He like pulls his nail out of his hand, all this goop falls out, and like he takes off a part of like his nose cap and shows that he's like decaying.
Ooh.
Like, because he's creating the darkening, which is like this evil like magic that's developing as like residue off of the broken crystal.
I gotta say, for the movie itself, you get a lot of information in the last like 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they just pack it full of like, oh, this is what was happening. This is why.
The Great Conjunction is upon us.
It's why the Mystics showed up. There's like, definitely, they mentioned that there is a prophecy and that it's getting fulfilled at that moment. And then they grab the Skeksis that's their half and combine into one. And then create whatever that creature is at the end.
Kira sacrifices herself.
Yeah.
So that Jen can complete the ritual before the Great Conjunction.
Yep.
She does come back, right?
Yeah, she does. Yeah. The whatever the beings are of the crystal.
Urtex.
Yeah. The Urtex, like, interesting.
Well, it's really, I don't know how to explain it, but he was just like, oh, she's fine. Hold her close. And she's like going to come back. Yeah. And then he like gives her a hug, and she comes back around.
And it's basically like the two separated.
Well, to be honest, I thought they were going to like fuse and turn into one person, but that was just like, I think I was just taking it too far.
Yeah, all of them technically do fuse into one person.
No, the two Gelflings.
Gotcha. Yeah,
I thought something weird was gonna happen, and they're like, "Bam, one person." And I was like, "Oh wait, it's a different story."
It's a weird ending for sure. I love it, but it's weird.
Well, I feel like it was what's the term for it? It's like an ex machina or deus ex machina kind of thing, where like you have this thing that just resolves everything.
But Aughra does say like, shall be whole, the two made one. They explain that when they see the ruins.
Yeah,
they definitely explain that when this ritual happens, if you can rejoin the crystal, then you can rejoin the two races again and make them whole.
Well, I mean, the way I took it was that you had both this male and female Gelfling, and so they were already creating that sort of balance between the two, and that like they needed sort of each other to finish whatever story and quest it was, and so they were kind of pushing that sort of idea with it. And that they were like seeing each other as equal, really.
You can't do everything alone.
Yeah, and
you gotta
need
get
some
together.
help.
Unity is important for the world to go.
We are now one, as all things are.
Yeah. Ooh, shit.
It got super high fantasy at the end there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They combine, the whole castle transforms, turns into like the original light version.
Like, beautiful and white.
When my friend was watching, he's like, "Dude, this is some Dragon Quest shit." Just like
honestly, yeah,
legit.
But the thing is about the Urtex, watching it, like, because I never finished the movie when I was a kid, so I had to watch it right now as an adult.
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh man, I remember fucking Indiana Jones, the Crystal of the Skull. This fucking last scene reminds me of when they fucking take all the crystals up there and it turns into a fucking alien. You know. It's intense.
So we've talked a lot about where the Dark Crystal and Age of Resistance like come together.
All the connections.
All the good connections between the two of them. And really, like, Age of Resistance functions as sort of like a huge expansion on the lore.
Well, it was really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, even right from the intro where you get the little introduction about... It reminded me of, like, when you get the intro from Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. When you get an idea of, like, this is the land that they live in.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, this is Lord of the Rings right
there.
now.
Like, here's the dwarves, here's the elves, here's whatever. They give you a brief intro for, like, each person or each clan. for it. And so you get this idea that, okay, these are the people that live in this world, and you're going to interact with like each one of them.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Some of my favorite moments from Age of Resistance, though, have to be, well, first of all, Skek Tech announcing the Gartham.
Yeah.
Him announcing the Gartham is fucking legendary in that whole bit. I love it so much.
And
Hup,
it comes out so fucking creepy.
Yeah, exactly. It comes out really it comes out really fucking weird. Yeah. And it's great because they kept the same color, and it fits in with the darkening narrative that's introduced in Age of Resistance as well. Which is great because it's just the Emperor basically feeding this corrupting energy that's like residue from the broken crystal,
right?
Essentially, and like just using it to power things. Also, I love when the boil-headed I can't remember the name of the Skeksis has the boils on her head, but her head explodes.
Oh,
it's fucking so good. She's like, that didn't hurt at all. It just explodes. You're like,
rest in
yes.
peace, Aquafina.
Yeah, rest in peace, Aquafina.
She killed it though.
Yeah, she did. She did
I really
so good.
felt like she was fucking sick. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they really grossified. The Skeksis are really the huge horror element here.
Yeah,
they're people that feed off of the life force. They believe that they do not deserve to die.
Yeah,
and that's why they feed off of like other people.
So
and
much
use
political narrative. As
well. Oh yeah,
I like that they sort of had like 3 stories going, like right at the beginning. You have Brea, who is like part of nobility and like doesn't want to do what they typically do, and is instead more interested in learning all about the history and wants like answers for certain things, but no one is like willing to give her those answers, so she kind of initiates her own quest in that way.
Yeah.
And then you have Deet, I think is
Deet, you got
who's
it.
coming
Deet.
from like the Groton Society, where they
Yeah.
think they're all dead, but like they're like no, and they think they're like filthy, which is really like, you get straight up like racism in this movie.
Yep.
Where you're like, oh, whoa, they like don't like her at all.
Because people are
Yeah,
racist.
She
in
goes
the
to
world.
Stone in the Wood and she's like, "Hello, I would like some drink, please." Oh, filthy Groton, away with you.
It starts with a fight.
Dude,
Like they
didn't
straight
you
up-
all die?
Yeah, something like terrible. And then you have was it Rian? You
Yeah.
have Rian's story where people think he murdered his like basically the person he loved.
Yep.
And then they like he gets expelled and he's trying to figure out a way to like tell people, but no one wants to listen to him.
I love that their relationship dream fast is so fucking awesome.
Oh,
I love
right.
it's so cute. They
Yeah.
in a minute they establish like a really
And
strong
it wasn't
love story.
cheesy. It was
No,
like,
it was
really
good
well
shit.
done for
Yeah,
that.
it
Yeah.
was
Remember
really
when I
well
met
done.
you? How could I forget?
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's just talk about it. Let's dream fast over it to remember.
Yeah,
And I
but
was like, this cute shit.
It is really nice.
Yeah.
They waste no time though telling you about like basically the classism that's happening within their society as far as the Skeksis go, and then the Gelflings, and even amongst the Gelflings themselves, where like the high society Gelflings are the people from
Hurrah!
all of Brea's clans people are the ones who are considered to be like the high nobility. Because there's like multiple princesses.
7 different clans.
Seven different Madras, and then there's the All Madra, who is the Madra of Harar.
Yeah.
So, but she is the Madra of all Madras.
I took it kind of like, oh, these are like the elves. Just like the high elves.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of basically, yeah.
Yeah,
They're all Gelfling.
Yeah, they're all Gelfling.
But some Gelfling are better than other Gelfling. Some Gelfling are more equal than others.
I love that they drove that home to people, because you watch it and you're like, there's like no difference between a lot of these Gelflings.
Nope.
Like they all look the same.
Yep.
But then like that's the point. They wanted you to realize that that's what people feel like when they're dealing with racism, like blatantly in their face, and they're like, what is wrong? Like there's no difference here. Why are you acting this way? So to watch it and witness it in this context is like, that's right in your face. And there was like, they were like definitely introducing that idea. Yeah, and they're fucking they're doing
puppets.
this with puppets, so it's like it's crazy. I loved that each puppet looked distinct from each other. There was no like repeats on the Gelflings. You look through all of them, and they all had distinct features on their faces.
They all look like variations of the Olsen twins.
No, I was waiting for you to say
Forever ruined.
I jokingly say this.
That
but
is our episode. Goodbye.
Goodbye. We're done.
I'm gonna use a picture of the Olsen twins.
Look at the
podcast. Check it out.
Hey guys, Age of Resistance season 2 is out. Check out the cast.
Yeah, exactly. That's fucking hilarious.
But regardless of that, I think what we didn't there's some parts of this that we didn't quite get to discussing with Age of Resistance.
There is a lot to unpack.
So much.
I think a lot of it derives from Brea, though. Brea is like the catalyst for everything, I believe.
Yeah, I would say she's definitely
she's the one who's like, hey, there's something going on, and I know it's here, but why isn't anyone questioning it?
Yeah, you know what? I kind of took that story as people who end up kind of finding themselves in a lot of privilege, who are like suddenly questioning things, and even themselves, like with all of that privilege and knowledge, they still won't get listened to because elders or other people are like, no, you don't know what you're talking about, or that's not something we discuss. And so, like you said, she's trying to get into why is our society kind of broken up like this? Yeah, like we're supposed to be helping each other, and no one wants to believe that because they're stuck in their like traditional ways.
Taking tithes from poor farmers, Mom.
Dude, oh my God, I'm glad you mentioned it because that shit got me so hard. Like watching it, where they already make the importance of that item like within a couple of seconds. Like this is literally the last memory of her mom, like in this item, and it gets taken from her. So you're like, this is so sad. I think I cried on that moment. I was like, oh my God, this is so sad. Why are you taking it? You get super mad watching
you bitch. You know, you're such an asshole.
We have 2 onions. A Gelfling with no tithing?
Yeah. What? So fucked. He like guilt trips them.
Yeah, they guilt trip them hard. They're just like, we give so little.
If you hear all the people in the back,
they start shaming them.
Oh my God, how could they do this?
Yeah.
For our lords.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I'm glad that it gets given back.
Brea has an interesting, a really fun like video game kind of reference puzzle where she goes beneath the throne room. She goes beneath the throne room and she has to like set up all the Gelfling clans based upon like founding, I believe. And every time she gets it wrong, it resets. And I was like, she's in a fucking video game puzzle. So they just did that.
I'll do it by class. Well, Hurrah is the best, of course.
Yeah, it starts with that one.
And then she's wrong.
Like, maybe it's the worst first and then the best last. So I'll go with Groton. or the Doosan. I don't remember.
Or the Doosan. Yeah, the Doosan are also looked down upon.
Yeah, because they celebrate death.
Yeah, they celebrate death, or rather, they just like have like a vast respect for the idea.
It was interesting that they were sort of able to condense some cultural ideas into what the clans sort of became and like their main focus.
Got to the Doosan part.
They do it
with
fast,
the flying stingrays.
Oh,
and Hup gets off and he's just like throwing up everywhere. Hup want die.
Well, we got to okay. So we got to talk about this little character because he's got so much personality for a single little puppet.
Yeah,
so as far as I understand it, there are no paladins that are podlings, right?
No.
In their world.
Never.
And he's the one who wants to be the first one. So he's just got like so much fighting spirit, but also like this sense of justice for a lot of things. And he fights. He's like not even like
he gets in there.
Yeah,
he saves Deet from the hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he does. That's right. Holy shit. That's right. Holy fuck. Yeah, he saves him from the Aratham that attacks her.
Oh wait, that's what it was.
She says, not the hunter. The hunter, I feel like, would flay him alive.
Oh God.
The hunter's gnar. Like he's actually scary.
Oh God.
Yeah. I love how he gets called upon too, because they're just like, oh, there's Lord Chamberlain. What's he doing? Oh, he's blowing the horn. Why is he doing that? Not the hunter.
Not
like
Skekmal.
That dude's fucking hard.
I love the hunter so much, dude. I love the hunter so much. He's my favorite Skeksis now, aside from Chamberlain.
Aside from Chamberlain.
Fucking, I love Skekmal is just fucking gnarly. Like, it's just gnarly. And then the archer also is badass. The archer comes in at the right moment because she finds. Sorry, going back. Brea finds Lore, who's this golem. After completing the puzzle, she awakens a golem.
Okay.
And the golem basically has this little they says like the record
part.
Like the record needle, and he like puts it on his arm and his arm rotates.
Oh, what?
And it plays sort of like how vinyl plays and plays a message for her to explaining who Lore is.
From the heretic and Ergo.
From the heretic and Ergo. And then he leads them back to the heretic and Ergo.
Through the Dusani desert.
Yeah, through the Dusani desert, yeah. And so they Lore becomes her protector. And just like defends her until she can figure out what actually happened. And so they meet a Skeksis who's the heretic, and they're all like, "Whoa, this guy's weird." And he's just like, well, "Gaze upon my wonder."
Okay, I was trying to think, who does he sound like? Have you ever played Pokemon Snap? He sounds like Professor Oak in Pokemon Snap.
He kind of does.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
I need more pictures of Pikachu.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, they sound very similar.
And so then there's Ergo. And you learn that Ergo's a mystic that hangs out with him. They both just hang out in this area together.
Oh, you gotta talk about the speed.
Yeah. And how Ergo speaks really slowly, And like the heretic is always just like faster. Yes, we get the point. And he like is still finishing his thought like every single time. It's a lot of comedy gold. Honestly, it's super funny.
The history. Yes.
Get to the point. Exactly. And then they throw on a puppet show.
The surprise.
They throw on, that's the big meta thing is they throw on a puppet show within a puppet show.
Very meta.
Did you see it?
Yeah, no, I did not see that.
Yeah,
it's on YouTube. If you.
Oh my god.
Get to it. Yeah. It's so good.
For this scene, they go deep into the meta. They're just like, so like we used to be one, but then we were whole when the crystal. They go through the entire meta, and they're like, we have seen the prophecy in the future, and a hero will come out, and it's all done with the puppets doing puppets. But it is a famous YouTube hand puppeteer who is behind the people with the actual puppets.
Oh my god!
Doing the intricate movements. Because the thing is, I don't remember the dude's name, but he is like one of the best hand puppeteers in the world. Like this dude's been on news.
That's awesome.
All kinds of shit. But like he is a fluid person with his hands, and like he kills it in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
What other main ideas did you feel like the show was exploring or like talked about or really got into with the narrative?
Talk about no.
Oh, no. Yes. So Celadon, Brea's sister, basically turns on her mother at a point. Basically says, "Why are you fighting?" Well, first of all, her mother gets stabbed by the Skeksis because her mother stands up to them.
Yeah.
Her mother stands up to him and says, "No, I'm not going to fucking take your shit anymore. What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
This darkening is happening. There is no darkening." They keep like swearing it's not happening.
And then they're like, "Celadon, what do you think of your mother being a traitor?"
Yeah, and then they murder her. They murder the All-Maldra in front of everyone. And then Celadon...
She doesn't even care. She's just like, "My mother was a traitor."
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, dude. It gets fucking crazy.
God damn.
Yeah.
And then after that, they're like, "You have killed the traitor. You have killed for the lords. Let us take you in. You shall be the new All-Maldra."
Yeah, and then a bunch of one of the Madra of Sun and Stone challenges her, but Celadon knows magic.
They all come together because like when Madras are together, they have to give their piece of the crown. Their piece of the crown. Yeah, they send out the pieces of the crown from the All Madra, and then it's up to all 7 All Madra. Or 6 of them, I guess. So agree, yes, you should be the All-Maldra. And put their piece back on the crown.
Oh.
And if one withholds, they challenge to like a fight, which is like a battle of air. Trial by air is what they call it.
Trial by air.
Yeah.
How does that work out?
Basically them like flying, I think, through like a dangerous area.
I
would imagine
like
something like that.
Course kind of.
But Celadon, I believe, knows magic.
Wait, is this because they can all fly? So they made like a challenge unique to them? Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then fucking, it's Stone in the Wood. The Madra of Stone and Wood, I forget her actual name, but the Madra of Stone and Wood is just like, nah, I withhold.
Yeah, that's Rian's original place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Where Rian comes from.
Yeah.
They don't even do the trial, do they?
No, they don't, because I believe Celadon knows magic.
No.
Because,
you know what it was?
What? Explain it again.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Go for it.
She's like, "I have no time for the pity crowds of past All-Maldra. This is a time for a new age with Skeksis and Gelfling." She comes in a Skeksis uniform with a dark fucking crown.
Whoa.
And it's super pointy, and she
looks really Skeksy-like.
She looks like a Skeksy, and like she's like, "I have no point to this. If you want to stand by me, then stand by me. If not, get out of here, and I'll have my guards on you."
God damn.
Yeah, dude, she gets hardcore, like just basically takes it for herself. She strikes down Stone in the Wood, though. She strikes her down. I don't remember. I think it's magical. She uses magic because the Harar read a lot of books.
Yeah, they kind
of
magic
is their thing.
Yeah.
So she kind of easily thwarts her and doesn't do things the honorable traditional way.
Gotcha.
Breaks tradition. Because of the Skeksis there, most of the Madra just fall in suit and are like, okay, we don't really want to mess with you, sort of deal. And then it gets to the bit where
they're draining Gelfling.
Where they start draining Gelfling, they ask for 7 Gelfling, and Celadon goes with it to keep the peace.
God damn.
She believes that she's doing what's necessary to keep the peace with them by sacrificing her own people.
Sounds pretty familiar.
Well, you got to talk about it. This is part of it.
Yeah.
So it's very relevant to what's happening as far as like politics here in the United States.
Yeah.
Like it's no mistake that they released it around this time period.
Nope.
And to like have this sort of analysis of like the society at large and what's going on. So like what connections do you guys make immediately where you're like, whoa, this is sort of happening?
We got the no part. We have to explain.
Oh, yes. So yeah, we'll get to the no part, but I would say it's like basically turning races on each other.
Yeah.
Basically,
so like against each other. They're all the same, and they're getting like turned
it's a
against
classist and racist concept that they're basically going with. Basically saying like you are I guess if you wanted to say in the realm of African Americans, you could say like, some black people being seen as more quote unquote white than other black people.
It's like
and
the colorism. Like it's like
colorism.
There
we go.
That's
the
darker
word for
skin.
it.
That's how they end up separating a lot of people. They do it with Hispanic people. Anyone who's a person of color.
Person of color, basically, you can get away with.
The closer you are to fair skin, the more likely they are to like accept you into their society, or really just assimilate you. But it's
exactly.
like,
but it's told in a fantasy element. But the metaphor is still relevant there. But there is an entire part where she goes along with what the Skeksis want, sacrifices her own people.
Yep.
And then she gets to the point where she's like, well, my mother's dead, and she's talking to all the Skeksis. She's like, won't you spare some Gelfling at least?
Wait, she's like, now we could stop, we could stop the Gelfling that are spreading lies and saying that you're draining Gelfling.
Yeah.
But we are draining Gelfling.
Yeah, the Skeksis straight up are like, yeah, we are doing that. And she's like, surely you'll save my clan from the draining process. No. They just look at her like, no. And they start cracking up, laughing. And then she's like, surely you'll save my sisters and whatnot and allow them to be safe. No. And they just sit there like it's a bunch of like her wanting them to be merciful, and they just refuse to do it. Absolutely refuse to do it.
I hate to alienate the audience, but I felt like it was very reminiscent of like boomers or people who are very big.
There's no boomers listening to this.
Okay. Well, but like people who are much older who are in a slot for the designed way that people of the old time think.
Yeah, totally.
Like just like, oh hey, this is how the world works. This is what you need. This is what you should do. And then someone's like, the millennials are like, but what if we did?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
No.
Millennials like, no, let's not. And they're just like, what? How can you question this? This is the American dream.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Exactly.
Fuck.
So there's like those big plot points. If they didn't already push that idea.
What I thought, exactly. When I thought like, surely you guys are not draining Gelfling, right? Surely our politicians are not dealing with pedophiles and child pornography, right? But we are.
But we are.
We totally are.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was one of the direct parallels I took from it, was that every Gelfling was trusting the Skeksis to be that source of information for what was going around. So like a word from them got everyone convinced that Rian had murdered someone. No one was willing to listen to his side of the story.
Even wanted to dream fast.
They didn't want to dream fast. They didn't want to see any sort of the truth. And so to me, this was like how people in the United States see the U.S. government as like a source of information. They don't want to take anything else as information, even like even with climate change. There's all these scientists who have all the proof and are showing you, but no one wants to read it or think it's like real. And so you have these people who are denying it for wealth. They want to keep their hold on the amount of wealth that's being separated.
Not to start an entire debate, but science is not like when we talk about science, it is not a singular person or group that all agree on the same thing. It's it's like a group of people that have evolved information over time.
Yeah.
Hence why you hear I'm sorry to interrupt you. Hence why you hear the argument like, oh, but they were saying that there was an ice age going to happen, and now they're saying that it's too hot. And I'm like, it's almost like science evolves over reasoning and debate. Oh my fucking God, that's crazy.
Well, because they're all peer reviewed. They'll put something out, they get reviewed, and they determine whether or not it's credible, and then they continue doing that.
Yeah, and they can do it over even when they think they're done. They keep going anyway, and that's how science changes and evolves. And that's why it's hard for people to trust it, because they don't understand that it's a process, not fair. Like a democracy. You know what I mean?
Well, with the way that's...
Well, I mean, in a way it is. Anyway.
No, that makes sense. And what's sort of happening now is this disparity that's happening between people who are able to actually get enough money and finish college and get into this sort of know and knowledge compared to like the sort of bulk of society that just can't go to college and get the education. And so you then have people who graduate and no one will listen to them.
Yep.
They're like, they have their degree, they can't get a job, they can't buy a house, they can't do anything.
Oh, you went to libtard university. That's where all the libtards go, is to colleges, because colleges are full of libtard fucking nonsense now, and that's what's going on. I'm a fucking moron.
I mean, obviously, it doesn't help that we have Donald Trump as a president. So
it doesn't help that our society has memes either, because you could share whatever the fuck you want.
Memes can definitely be problematic.
Memes are problematic for both sides.
Yeah.
But the thing is, memes are everywhere. Fucking pyramids are a meme, for God's sakes.
I think what gets me, so I was talking with someone about this the other day. So while obviously Donald Trump is a terrible fucking person and nobody really wants him to be president anymore, like even the Republicans are kind of like, ooh, I don't know if we want to go with this, especially with recent events.
Yeah.
But someone was talking about how I think the more terrible thing about Donald Trump was that he sort of revealed that racism and a lot of other things just never went away. They were really just kind of undercover, behind the scenes in a very private way. And then because of his being blatant about it, people felt that they could come out and start saying these things more commonly. And so he sort of like reinvigorated this separation that had happened that we thought we took care of in the United States, but it's like getting a resurgence with all that's going on. So even if he gets impeached and he gets taken out of office, we still have to deal with the fact that half of the fucking United States voted for him.
Like, here's something I mentioned recently, is that I'm not so much worried about Trump as I am about the people that are emboldened after him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the scary bit, is that who's going to say, I can do what that guy's doing, but I can do it better.
Yeah. Exactly.
That shit. That's the scariest. That's real world shit now. We're out of Thraw now into real shit.
Well, this ties directly to the militant people who are like, oh, well, we're gonna create a militia and kind of go against, the Declaration of Independence, and all of the Constitution says that if we feel that something is being taken from us, that we can take up arms against it. But it's just such a misread of the Constitution and what was going on at that time period.
The Constitution has been spit on by fucking every politician at this point.
Well, I mean,
it's just like, at this point, I'm just like, yo, when's the militia gonna come through? Because like, y'all been slacking, dog. I want to see the fire. like the Area 51 raid, that shit happened, and it's just like, hey guys, we're just gonna stand here, take pictures, and go home. All right.
Good for them for not getting murdered.
No, I mean, I wanted to see. The thing is, it's like it's one step below, just like, hey, they can't actually fucking stop all of us, and we can rise up.
That was
against
crazy.
something.
And then like days later, they confirmed that like some Navy pilots actually saw an unidentified flying object, and they like, no, that's a real video. We don't know what it is. And they fucking released that afterwards. But I know we're kind of getting a little bit away from it.
So let's go back to, I think we're kind of done talking about the show and the movie. I feel like we're at an end, sort of.
Right.
Unless there's more that is there anything else we would like to analyze about it?
I will say something I thought was impressive were the Mystics, because they had to be crouched down for hours on end to do their scenes. They are actual people crouched down for hours on end to do their scene, and they're like very subtle movements.
Yeah, so slow
as fuck.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know. I just, the Heretic and Ergo are just definitely one of the many reasons to watch this series.
I love that they have a symbiotic relationship. They realize, hey, you're my half. I'm not gonna hurt you, because if I hurt you, I hurt myself.
Yeah,
gotcha.
And the Archer and the Hunter are also halves. So basically, when the Hunter shows up at where the Heretic, at basically that, I can't remember, the center of the Crystal Desert, basically the center of the Crystal Desert, where all where Brea and Hupp and Rian have all shown up, basically to be engaged in mystic opera, in an opera and a puppet show.
Oh my god!
Where they explain everything for hours on end.
Gotcha.
The fucking Hunter shows up, and then the fucking Archer shows up heroically and shoots him with an arrow and then falls over, like to get him to go the fuck away, but also hurts himself in the process. It's fucking
crazy stuff.
It's crazy shit. It's really. John, you need to finish it.
Oh yeah,
so good.
I'm gonna finish it over the weekend.
Yeah, it's great.
I want season 2.
But I'm glad you guys got through the whole thing and all of the extra bits about it.
Watched it twice, bro.
I'm gonna watch it with a group of friends again, because we saw Dark Crystal and they're just like, wait, there's more, and it's upgraded.
Yeah,
it's hella upgraded.
Yeah, it's hella fucking upgraded.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I feel that this was a totally amazing birthday episode.
I want to hear your closing thoughts, what you each personally think of like the series.
I really enjoyed like the upgrade into the lore and stuff like that, because so for me personally, whenever I'm making something, like if I'm writing something, the whole world gets created with it. Like in my mind, I don't usually just write a story without any sort of backing to it. And so before I even like sort of get into it, I kind of like sandbox it, where it's like, this is all the stuff that's around it. And then I drop the characters into it, and then it makes sense to me that they would act this way. And so to me, it felt like the story was super fleshed out. Like they really thought about how everyone's going to interact. And I feel like he definitely made the world before he put the characters into it. Mm-hmm. And that's why it all made sense. Like there was no plot holes. There was nothing that didn't make sense to me. It was all coming together, and it made sense that you had all these characters going on, because it wasn't just a singular like hero's journey story.
Yeah.
You got multiple things happening on different levels, and that was cool. I enjoyed all of the storylines that got brought together.
Good point.
I think, well, part of it could be childhood nostalgia, but after rewatching The Dark Crystal a bunch of times, like more recently, showed it to my girlfriend a while ago, rewatched it for fun, rewatched it again for this episode, like in the same year. I really have a lot of like love for the movie, just based on the practical effects, the amount of artistry and work that went into it. The narrative is also really cool, and I kind of like the vagueness of it. And really, what made Age of Resistance so much better is how much they flesh out everything. Yeah, almost like filling holes that weren't really ever holes to begin with.
Yeah, just and more cool.
Yeah,
info.
Exactly. And it's also stuff that makes sense though. There's a lot of references between the two. Between the movie and the series that fill in a lot and really give it that continuity that I really appreciate. And so after analyzing it today, I just love it more.
It reminds me of like when there was all sorts of extra being done for Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And every time you had a new piece of it, you're like, this is fucking cool. Like there's more to the story. You know, until Disney was like, fuck all of you, this isn't canon, but like, whatever. Yeah.
We don't have to believe them.
I would
Don't
be pissed.
Listen to your followers.
Can
That's
you
what this whole
imagine
series
if someone made like
you.
a novel and they were like, no, it's not canon anymore? I'd be like, what the fuck? Dude, I spent like 3 years making this. Like, what are you talking about?
See, tell me it's not canon.
Like, George Lucas approved it. Like, what do you want from me?
But here you go. But Mur, what do you think?
Yeah, what do you think about it?
We discussed this in the car a
but
while
you should
back.
Just keep going.
You said a lot of fantasy could take a couple notes from Age of Resistance, and I agree with that.
Oh yeah, really good storytelling.
Yeah, and it's a fun time. I think my favorite part about Age of Resistance is that Brian Froud and his wife and son all worked on this.
Oh hell yeah!
And Jim Henson's daughter and son are also working on this. It's a very family, like it's a family passing the torch to the next generation.
Oh totally.
And it's fucking awesome.
Yep.
They do a great job, and they take Brian Froud and Jim Henson and Frank Oz's baby, and they put it on a fucking motorcycle, dude. They just fucking get it.
Give it some glasses, leather jacket.
Yeah. They do great with it, and I'm really excited to see what they come out with next, because it has to get funding. It really does. I've heard nothing but positive reviews for it.
I saw a review where the guy complained about the Mystics being too slow and boring, and he gave it a 5 out of 5 still. He was like, the Mystics scenes were all boring. 5 out of 5. That was just one like negative thing that he said about it. Everything else was great. It was super funny.
Hey, at least he could like detach from it and was like, it's still a good fucking story.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the mysticism, the parallels between politics and fantasy as well. But the original, just to give that a quick review, I just gotta say it's a beautiful world created by Jim Henson, who is not used to making worlds like that. He's used to comedy, puppets bouncing around. I'll say what his daughter said. He made the most human story he's ever made, and there's no fucking humans in this movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
That's a good.
It was a way to introduce ideas that people might be uncomfortable with, and made it something that you could like digest easily.
He considers it his masterpiece.
Oh, that
I agree
for sure. Yeah, I would agree with that as well. It's definitely something I felt like he'd been wanting to do.
And such a step outside of what the norm for him is, too.
Yeah.
Such a step outside.
So if you haven't seen Age of Resistance or The Dark Crystal, you should just watch it right now.
Yeah, go. It's on Netflix. Watch it.
Yeah.
I feel like it sits in with a lot of other high fantasy stories, because even now, I still feel like there's not a lot of high fantasy in like the general,
not in film,
like
mostly in video games nowadays.
Yeah, it's definitely independent stuff. It's like smaller works, like things that people are creating independently. For some reason, the big studios are not willing to go with it Like the last real thing that people had was Lord of the Rings, and then after that it was like,
I honestly believe because it's just they only want to make stuff that's already relevant. The Dark Crystal already has a following. It's easier to get a smaller, quote unquote, smaller company than Netflix to sign on to something like that.
Hollywood doesn't like risks. They like safe
No,
and sound.
Not really. Nowadays. They don't.
Yeah,
they used to take risks.
Yeah. Star Wars,
to take risks.
fucking risk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everyone told him the movie was gonna fail.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
Oh boy. Anyway, but we digress. I think
there's a lot of love for this series and for us.
But before I let everyone go, I just want to remind everyone that we're super easy to find. We're on all of the streaming sites, so we're able to be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, as well as iHeartRadio and SoundCloud. And then we've also got our social media, so we have Instagram, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, and you can interact with us there on any of the posts that we have. You can send us comments, things that you want to discuss more, or you were unsure, or even just corrections where you're like, oh, you got the name wrong, you got the year wrong, things like that. You can always send us messages on there, and we're always willing to answer it. But thanks, guys, for coming out and talking about the Dark Crystal.
Good night.